Greetings and welcome to We Say Things episode 150, live from the Stockholm Major. Cinderin is here at the end.
Yo.
We have Gorgc.
Hello.
And Jerax.
Hello.
As special guests today, and we have an amazing live audience as well. I don't know if we can show them, but this is... We also have ESL representatives. Am I allowed to cuss on my own podcast today?
Yes.
Shane is giving me he's giving me a thumbs up. Fuck, this is great. Boy, oh, but so this is going to be an interesting episode. It's going to be kind of expedited. We got like 40 minutes to work with. First half is just going to be us talking amongst each other. Cinder will probably sit out of that because he doesn't like talking very much. And then the last half will be AMA from the audience. So it should be fun. So let's start it out. First and foremost, Gorgc, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good.
You can hold it. We can pass it around.
Okay, let's do that.
Give it back.
Well, I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Jerax. This is going to be a long-ass episode. We're going to do All right, let's talk about let's talk about Jerax first. To get the, talk about the elephant in the room. E.g.
Please hold it yourself.
E.g. didn't do too hot at the major.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that. Do you want to talk about the team as a whole, or like what happened, and because obviously that's on most people's minds right now. You can be brief. You can be brief.
Brief.
Yeah.
We underperformed.
Okay.
Let me think a little. There's a lot to say. Some things can't be said. Thinking.
Anything on our podcast.
Anything. Yeah. Anything.
We're waiting, Jerax.
Yeah. I know. I'm just thinking. I think what happened. We had a very long boot camp. We had like up and downs. If people probably look for comparisons like TSM versus us or Quincy, I feel like we were kind of like very close to where TSM was, in terms of like how we prepared for this tournament, and then like obviously the comparison is like, well, they're in the finals, we are dropping first in the tournament. What happened? And I think for us, we kind of failed to prepare for this tournament. We didn't really boot camp. I feel like we dropped the ball in the very beginning, and the ball was missing. Like we never found it. It was somewhere, but I think we did not find the game we wanted to play, and it's very disappointing. I think the result is not so disappointing, rather than being in the Dota game and you feel like you're lost. So I think that's what happened, basically.
I have a question, if that's fine. Yeah. I'm personally wondering, Jerax, you have a ton of experience, right? Is there anything new you learned from this tournament experience compared to before?
You guys can have the podcast, by the way. It's fine. I'll just go over here. No worries.
Thank you. I don't want it. Anything new? I think this team culture we have in EG is quite a bit different from where I come from the past, and I think I learned to appreciate looking forward that we had in the past. I don't think we had it so much in this team, like this tournament, and that's definitely something. If I were to go in the past and maybe change something, then now that I'm maybe wiser, I would go on about like trying to get the guys look forward and like try to just forget what happened maybe in the beginning of the tournament, and like try to revisit on what we had in the boot camp, and then yeah.
Okay, that's the last sad thing we'll talk about, other than Cinderin's career as a whole as a player. Gorgc.
Go ahead, ask me a question, bitch.
Do you like Gorgc?
He's okay.
Okay. Gorgc, so you got here a couple days ago. You were streaming some of the tournament as well. How's your experience been so far? Because I talked to you yesterday in the hall, and like, oh, are you going to be on panel? Like, I don't know. And then 10 minutes later, you were on panel. So how's that experience been for you so far?
It's been a bit of a surprise. I kind of didn't expect much getting here. The panel thing was kind of also improvised, I would say. They're like, you want to come on? I just ran down. The makeup girls like panicking, and then they shoved me out on stage.
They had a lot of work to do.
Yeah. They did. And yeah, no, it's great streaming from home, but this is a completely different experience, I would say, and I'm a little bit overwhelmed by all of it because it's kind of new to me, but I'm enjoying myself a lot here.
Cinder, any questions?
Yeah, so for both of you, I guess you can just take turns here. We'll start with you. What do you think, like, overall with the progression of the tournament? Now we got your perspective just from your team in general. Like, do you feel like there's some teams that really surprised you, maybe based on how your scrims went, that you played against, they're like, wow, they're so much better than we thought, or maybe we had them as favorites, they kind of bombed out, it didn't work so well. And just, like, the atmosphere in general of being back on land since, like, 2.5 years ago? Maybe it's even longer for you, actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years.
Please hold the mic.
Keep holding, thank you. Yeah, it's over 2.5 years, I believe. I don't actually remember. It's been so long. Yeah, I mean, TSM for sure. I mean, we have been very closely related, I guess, is the way to put it. And yeah, I mean, I had my doubts about like how they play the game, but they still do the same thing as they did in the NA region. They're doing very similar in the sense that maybe some hero changes were there, but other than that, like they play exactly the same, and it's very kind of beautiful to see that they just believe in it, and then they just do it, and then they're willing to go home like that, or they're willing to win like that. So I think that's nice to see. And any other team, I mean, Gaming Gladiators is I look forward to seeing more from them. Obviously they didn't do so hot the last series they played, but they had some good shit going, and I was happy to see them bring some good Dota, very active Dota, as I would put it. Yeah.
You wanted Gorgc to answer that too?
Yes.
Well, first, before I hand you the mic, Gorgc, I'd like to say congratulations. You are the first person to be on the podcast twice.
I've been on before.
I do not remember the question.
It wasn't very good, so. No, so overall with the tournament, watching it from the outside, like the perspective, which teams do you think did better than you expected? How long have you been here in the arena? You came in yesterday, I think?
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, what's your experience? So this is the first time you've been at a LAN this big, I think, with the crowd and everything. Is it everything you hoped for and more? Or is it, like, how do you temper your expectations for that and just the tournament in general with the teams and everything?
Well, I mean, before I got here, I had a completely different idea of who was going to win. I have some bold claims on Twitter, I have a tier list, but I was very surprised about a lot of the results because I think a lot of it comes with momentum. And I feel like, especially when you're here, like the first thing I did, I guess I can say this, I got here and I went to the bathroom and the entire OG team just came, just to go to the bathroom. Really yeah. They ran there. They were like, oh my God.
That's how they win.
That was right.
They're so well prepared.
That was right after their win, actually, and I saw them, and they all look so relaxed, and they seem to be having a good vibe, and that's the moment I knew, like, these guys are gonna go far this tournament. And when I sat at home, I didn't really know that. So, stay around the bathrooms, and you'll know more. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's the conclusion on that. Okay.
I mean, I have a lot of experience with that as well. Okay, so let's go down the line, because as of this recording, if you're watching live, this doesn't really matter, but if you're watching on a recording or listening, we are about to have the grand finals between OG and TSM. So let's have predictions, starting with Mr. Cinderman.
Just the scoreline. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can go in depth if you want. I know you like to talk.
Okay, I'm going to
So, Jerax,
say...
how about you?
Yeah.
Let's go with 3-1 TSM.
3-1.
I think Sepp hasn't been feeding enough. He hasn't really been himself. I think it's going to happen this finals again. So, and Johan is going to be very enthusiastic about the feeding, so he's going to keep doing it, and I think it's going to result in some losses. But he's totally fine with it. He's used to it.
Okay, I'm going to say 3-1 OG, actually. I think the momentum is really powerful here. And I think every time I've doubted OG, they've won. So this time, I'm either going to give them another win by saying TSM, which they have enough of. So I'll just say OG, just so I can either be right or someone else can win for once. That would be great.
Yeah, I was gonna go the same route as Syndrome, but I'm gonna say 3-0 OG even.
Oh,
I think they have so much momentum right now, and there's some sort of intimidation factor with main stage OG. I feel like even in the group stages, when you didn't see like No Tail jumping around, on the other side, this and that. Like when you see that, I think as a competitor, it intimidates you a bit. And TSM are fairly new. I think Saberlight's a super clutch player. He might turn up and like carry the series. But if that doesn't happen, I think OG are gonna take this easily.
Okay, and on to my opinion. I really
Thank you,
want to
Shannon.
say TSM, but I do agree. I think OG. I'm going to say 5 games because that's what I'm hoping for. I do agree with the momentum.
5 games. What's the score then?
3-2.
Thank you, Shannon.
That's
That's
best
good.
of 5.
It's impressive. You got it right.
I mean, I do watch basketball, so we do talk about those numbers quite a bit. But let's not talk about basketball today. It's very depressing. Episode 151, we'll cry together. But yeah, I think OG will take. I do like TSM's spirit though, because it feels like they've come back in like every game that they've been down, right? So I don't want to count them out. And obviously Moonman or whatever the fuck they're drinking in their water, which apparently the water here is very safe to drink from the sink, but I still refuse to do it. I don't know if that's just the
You drink
American
from the
in me.
tap, not from the sink. That's generally maybe that's the problem.
It is technically the sink, so either way. So yeah, we'll see. It should be a good finals regardless. But I would really like to see. I think it would be good for the scene if NA finally wins a major.
But it's also good for the memes if they don't. So
Yeah, they are located in NA, Jerax. Okay, that's the region they play in. You're NA now as well.
Oh yeah, I was also there. I don't feel NA at all. So yeah.
Well, there you go. Okay, I think since we have so many people in here, maybe we switch to the AMA with the audience. If you guys
before
want
we
to
do
partake.
that, I don't know if we can show the audience how much is visible on camera right now, if it's just us. But I would be curious about predictions from the audience.
Okay,
So raise your hand if you think OG is going to win the finals.
Okay, I'm gonna count a lot.
Okay. Down. I have like I can.
Yep.
That was 52 of you. Raise your hand if you think TSM are going to win.
Okay.
You thought both teams were going to win. That looked like a probably 2-1 split for OG favored. That's pretty much the same as us, actually.
Yeah. I think
Roughly.
it's pretty accurate.
2-1 split
It's
among
weird
4
that the
people.
team coming from the lower bracket feels like the one that is most advantageous, right? The one that's favored for the most part. But they also have the most fans here, which I think that shouldn't be overlooked as well. Like just hearing OG as a player. I mean, you've been on OG in the past. Like, how does that feel? Just getting that kind of support from the crowd while you're in the tournament, or while you're in a specific game, even.
Oh yeah. I haven't been to the stage like playing, but I don't know what
We
kind
know.
of. Yeah. Did you watch my games? My perspective. I don't know how it's like. Did they actually hear the? Do you have any idea if they hear the crowd or anything?
I wasn't on the stage either.
Yeah,
They can feel. I mean, you've been to many TIs,
Yeah.
so just take that experience and tell us what that is like in general. Just hearing.
Well, usually you get a vibe on like the crowd like cheering and all that, and that's really nice. I mean, it's really nice when you're winning the game. You hope you're winning the game, and they're cheering for you, hopefully for you, and yeah, it encourages you. Like you feel like you have done something, and people look at you and they take you. Yeah. Oh, why do you want it?
I have a question for you. Does it give you more confidence, or does it like affect your playstyle on the game? Is it like, do you find yourself, if you think back, do you feel like maybe you played a little bit more aggressively, or you took more risks, or are you trying to like totally disconnect the crowd from everything, and it's just cool they're there, but I play the same I always do?
Me personally, what happens if I take in too much, then I get way too excited, and yes, the optimism kind of kicks in. I feel like I'm very likely to take the risk route rather than playing safe, and it's not necessarily how you. I don't think you necessarily want it to impact the game. I think you rather have it as stable as possible. That seems to be the way for me, and yeah. I mean, if you hear too much of the crowd, it's very hard to like stay tuned to your own game and like actually perform. So that's not a good thing. I hope it's never going that way. But yeah, there's a good balance. It's just generally nice that there's people out there. It feels more meaningful, and I think if there's something, then that's affecting me. I feel like in a positive way.
I just wanted to say that I actually talked to the members of OG, another bathroom insight here. And I actually asked them directly, do you hear anything? Because I didn't notice there was any glass booth. And they said that the helicopter earphones they have pretty much block out everything. So it wasn't as bad as I thought.
I'm guessing the way it usually is with the soundproof booths is that you can hear the excitement of the crowd, but you can't hear any game sound. So you can just like, it's kind of like you imagine you're at a concert and the only thing you hear is the bass. Like that's basically it. So like it's like
Yeah.
coming through the floor, and it's the same when you have those soundproof headphones on. It's like there's noise, but it's kind of white noise, right? So
Okay. Can we do the AMA? Yeah.
we have a third
anybody.
mic.
Just point me to who I'm supposed
You
to
can choose whoever raises their hand and is interested in asking a question.
All right. So first you cheer for both teams, and now you want to.
Hello, so big fan of the podcast. Thank you for having us. Quick question about I noticed that the player actually spend like about 10 minutes on stage before each game. What do they actually do? Do you guys try to discuss something else to try to like relieve the pressure? Or you're still talking strategy, what you're gonna like draft, what you're gonna ban? Do you warm up playing against like a one?
Yeah, I know a lot about this one.
What do you do, Sindre?
We go to the bathroom to get the newest hot shit from Gorg.
I think for me, it's like easing the mood. You kind of wanna just make the place feel like at home. That's kind of one thing. So people do different things. You'll see Johan shout at his teammates and like be very cheerful, very passionate about the game. He wants to share it, and he wants to live on the energy. You'll see me like being in the corner, just being like outside. Like I don't want to be very much like affected by the outside, so that helps me like keep tune, and then later on I'll be with the team. So people do different things.
Okay. Thank you for your question.
Hello. This is specific for Synderen. Apologies, everyone
Oh, no,
else.
this can't be good.
Did you find it difficult to transition from playing to sort of full-time pundit, talent, that sort of thing? Because I
Didn't
know
have
you
a
sort of
choice.
went back in.
There you go. That's the answer. For me, it was kind of a gradual transition, to be honest. It wasn't like a day-to-day thing, because while I was playing, even back in, I think I started my first casting in Dota 1, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I cast a little bit back then in some online tournaments. I was like, okay, this could be fun. Let's see if I'll enjoy it. I started casting with Mad Mortigan. I don't know if any of you guys remember him by name. He was an American caster, mainly cast NA games that weren't so high tier, so maybe nobody remembers. That's a shame. The guy was a legend. So yeah, he gave me a chance. He was like, let's try it. Sounds fun. And people really enjoyed it because broadcasting back then was basically one play-by-play guy, and the play-by-play guy hadn't really played on a high level. So the perspective that I had being a pro player at the time was something people were like, okay, there's more depth to this. It's really interesting to hear. And then I was obviously playing side by side, and I think at TI2 when I got knocked out, I cast a couple of games, for example. And then after I stopped playing competitively in 2013 for the time being, then I started casting more. And then I came back and played again. And now it's been a long time since I played again. But so yeah, it's kind of been on and off. I think the most important thing, if you change it with anything, I think you'll see that with some of the pro players here now as well. Some people are clearly better at being in front of a camera and just, being on. It's not for everybody. Some people might struggle a little bit with, expressing themselves the way they want, or they're shy, like whatever it is, and that's completely fine. It's not for everybody, but I enjoyed it always, and I found it kind of natural. So to me, that was never an issue. That's what made the transition easy, if you will. Sorry for the long answer, Shannon. Using all the time here. Haha, now I said something again.
Hi, Sunsvan. Can you please comment on the food you've had in Stockholm? Have you had any more enlightening experiences like the reindeer steak?
When he said Sunsun, can you please? I thought he was going to say belch as the next one. I was like, here he comes.
I'm not able to belch on command. The food at the hotel I've not been liking. But anytime we've gone out to like nice restaurants, purposely looked for places that have reindeer. Just eating a shit ton of that. We went to a really, what was it? It was reindeer, elk, and deer, like super finely cut, like filet mignon style. It was really, really good. And I actually had Swedish meatballs, which were a bit risky because there was some cream in there, and I'm semi-lactose intolerant. Actually not overrated. Because I've been hearing about Swedish meatballs forever, and they were god tier. It was extremely good. But aside from that, a lot of it is just like hotel food, which, you know, has been kind of bland because they have to feed so many people, so I don't really attribute that to...
We went to a burger place nearby twice, and you also had sushi.
That's true. That's not Swedish, though.
Well, it was here. He asked Stockholm.
I just wanted to say one thing. While you're in Sweden, you gotta try the banana curry pizza, otherwise you haven't really been in Sweden.
Let me ask you a question, Gork. Why the fuck do you guys not cut your pizza? What in God's abomination is the reason?
Because then the
that
banana
pizzas-
spills in between the cracks.
Is there... Okay, I'm genuinely curious. Is there a reason?
You're asking me like I'm making the pizzas here. I don't know, honestly.
I'm just offended every time I'm given. It's like they don't want me to eat it. It's just this round pizza, not cut. Like, what are you supposed to do with it?
Maybe some people fold it.
Yeah, fold it.
Okay, next question.
We'll get you next. I can't wait to hear what your question is. Cheering for both teams. Raising your hand immediately.
I have a question for Jerax. So I've seen some of the EG games during the group stages, and some of the games you were laning with Nightfall, some of the games you were laning with RTZ. So do you think that, you know, laning with different players has impacted your gameplay, or do you think that you enjoy it really much and you want to continue doing it in the next competitions?
Yes. That's a bad answer.
Next question.
Professional player here, yeah. Thinking. I mean, generally, the meta right now seems to be towards the direction that being able to lane on both side lanes is very important for the support. Doesn't matter which support. And it's kind of strategic advantage if you can do that. You also pick some heroes just to do that. It certainly gives you flexibility with the way you draft as a team and the play. Laning with Igor or laning with Arthur, it's very different. I would say I learned in this team to lane with Arthur. And then, I mean, that obviously shows with me laning with Igor, it's somewhat of a different story, but not to a huge extent. Like, Igor is also very vocal, so he helps a lot. But I would say it gives you perspective. People look at the lane very differently. And I think this team actually was the most laning heavy team for me so far. And I feel like that's been like very impactful for how I look at the game. Like the importance of our 0 to 15 minutes is way more than in the past, like me playing in OG. And I feel like that taught me a lot. Yeah. Did I answer the question? Yeah, okay.
No, please try again. I think we have one up here. That's my next pick.
That's fine. No, I'm good. Thanks.
Now you have to. I don't want to when you want to hear it. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah. So what changes would you like to see to the DPC format for the next season as a player, Jerax?
Are you Iranian by any chance?
Yes.
Farsi miduni?
بله.
Farsi من خیلی بد. Welcome. Go ahead.
I mean, this is our podcast. Ana mana bokhor.
That means eat shit in Farsi.
It's the one thing he taught me.
Something you need to know as a Persian, right?
How good was it?
Huh?
I mean, the pronunciation, not the shit.
It's close enough. Yeah,
Oh,
you
good.
struggle with the ch, but it's
yeah,
okay.
that's not really.
We'll start on this side and we'll go forward.
Okay, so I go first?
No.
that side.
So changes to the DPC. It just needs to be shorter. I think everybody other than Valve will agree with that. It's just more condensed. I think players, obviously, playing one game a week. I mean, I can see some advantage because you have a lot of time to prepare, but I think it's pretty feels bad for the fans overall. I think the idea of having like 24-hour Dota at all times is not that realistic, and it just takes away from potential third-party tournaments that, like we used to run Captain's Draft, that, you know, literally can't do anymore. Not because Dota isn't great for sponsorships, which is true, but because there's literally no space in the schedule anymore for stuff like that.
All right, it's my turn. No, I fully agree with what Sunsfan said. I think the idea was interesting at the start because having talked to people, there was some idea that longer format would mean more stability for the players, but it seems like the stability is not worth it compared to having a lot of different tournaments, and it's not as good for the fans as I think Valve hoped.
I mean, I have a lot of first-hand experience being in this international team, e.g., not NA team, but international. Sorry, guys. I mean, I can just say an example how the DPC looks from the team's perspective. For example, Abed in our team, he comes from Philippines, and how the DPC forces him to travel is not necessarily nice. Like he can't play from home. It's basically impossible. So he's expected to bootcamp for 6 to 7 weeks each time the league is on, and he's also not able to like travel home in between the breaks. So he's kind of getting screwed over. It's not very easy. It definitely doesn't leave any option really to bootcamp like the actual 6 to 7 weeks together, because obviously we want to be there when he's there because the team wants to be together. And I feel like that limits us. For example, like we come to this tournament and we don't bootcamp because we can't really, like, it's just exhausting, and like people are close to being burned out, so you have to give them time. And I feel like it's very impactful, especially long term, because then like it's not just the first or second season, but then we are looking at TI and everybody has their minds there, and you're supposed to be like really doing your best here, but you know that it's not realistically, like you're gonna give it your all, but you know you could do better with a better schedule for yourself. Like you know for yourself that it's not optimal. So I think teams very much struggle in these times, and I haven't really heard anybody figuring it out this season. Like I've been talking to teams. Everybody says like a lot of teams have this like 6-week bootcamp, which is just nuts. If you think about it, everybody's being in the same house. You're basically living in your office, and that's 1.5 months. You see the same faces, eat the same food together. You know, it's not healthy, and I wish there was more balance.
Yeah, I have the experience being in the same building as Shannon for 2 weeks, and that's more than enough. So 6 weeks would be...
Admit I'm rubbing off on you a bit.
In a bad way. Yeah, so I think right now the format has the leagues be, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 weeks plus tiebreakers. Is that how it is? So 6.5, let's say. I think it would be nice to condense it down to like maybe 4 weeks. The problem with the format right now, aside from it obviously being stretched out so you can't have second-party tournaments, is also that, oh, well, that's not a problem, but I think the reason it's done this way is in order to give every game or every team exposure for all the matches. Like, they don't want to have overlap. I think for the most part, fans will follow 1 or 2 teams that they're really a fan of and try to catch all their games. So if they're in a more condensed time span, I still think they're going to catch those games. And then there's like a small minority of people that wants to watch literally everything, and that's just not going to be possible no matter what, because unless you live on like 4 different time schedules all the time, you're not going to catch China, SEA, Europe, and NA, right? So you kind of have that limitation anyway. So if you cut it down to like about half the duration, we're going to get those second-party tournaments back. I think the outcome of the league will be different. Like, you look at this, for example, BetBoom qualified through a very short qualifier. Maybe if that was a league format, it would have been better. Maybe it would have been worse for them. Hard to say, but it's totally different. They qualified through, I think, 3 days of play. They were still good on stage and in the tournament in general, so it didn't feel like a fluke whatsoever, right? But the format of it maybe didn't work in certain teams' favor, which can be both a good and a bad thing. So maybe a healthy medium, instead of having like a 3-day qualifier, is having the game spread so you play like maybe 2 games a week, 2.5 instead of 1. I think the players also appreciate that, because then the prep they put into the patch and what's going on now, it feels like, okay, you can reap more rewards instead of, oh, we played 1 game, now everybody can study us in depth for like a whole week and just destroy everything we run, right? This tournament, for example, is so much momentum. Like, certain strategies have worked for days, right, before they finally get countered, like Gaming Gladiators on main stage. So shorter, please.
Do we know how much time we have left?
About 30 minutes.
30 minutes left. Oh, okay. That's not what I was told originally, but okay. Next question.
Okay, great casting. I'm just wondering, I've noticed you've done a lot less of the trivia time. How much do you, can you just be yourself when you're casting, or are the organizers telling you to do specific things or less of specific things?
Not to pull a... What can I say here?
Oh, be careful.
Not to pull a James Harding, but I have never been told not to be myself. Obviously, Cinderen's able to work off of me quite well, although the trivia is technically him, and he was really annoying during TI with those trivia questions. But
you loved it.
I did love it at the same time. Masochistic nature of myself. But no, typically they don't... At TI, maybe they told me to hold back on a couple things after it happened. But generally, I would say they let us run free and hope that we don't go over the line, which
Generally
I haven't yet,
no.
I think.
Not my line, at least.
Well, that doesn't mean anything, but yeah.
I guess. Yeah, so I think, generally speaking, when it comes to casting, one of the things that is important is that you're in the moment, right? So if it is an emotional moment, you're not scared of like making it an emotional moment, and that also includes cussing. So very iconic moments like "ding ding ding motherfucker" from LD, right? Which happened, I think, was that at a major, or was it TI? I think it was.
TI.
It was at TI, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's like the biggest tournament of the year, and we still, I think that's important that you get to do that. Also, like knowing your audience, right? Like we don't want, at least I think I speak for most people with this. We don't want this to be super PC all the time. Like. I think we had a TI where that was kind of the case on panel. I think it was TI 5, had a very like ESPN-like stiff panel, and I think it was one of the least enjoyable panels for the participants on the panel and for the audience in general, because it was like, this is a video game. We want to have fun, and we don't want to have like the same restrictions on having to abide to like a really strict guideline for language and stuff like that, right? So yeah, if something is funny, we'll call it fucking funny if it is. If something is crazy, you know, we're free to go. Yeah, you can probably imagine what you don't say under any circumstances on broadcast. I don't think I need to spell that out. But as far as like general cussing goes and just being ourselves, we genuinely are just having fun. If something funny is happening in the game, we'll crack a joke. We'll talk about something that's not game related, which some people don't like some of the time.
And then there's the clothing, right? They say business casual, which doesn't really mean anything. I should show up in a T-shirt because that's what I work in every day. But then you feel peer pressure by people like fucking Purge, who wears a suit constantly, and you just look like a goddamn bum next to him. So I guess that works for my persona, maybe.
Then we got some pro players on the panel, and you looked
That's
so
right.
slick,
Quinn showed up with a T-shirt that looked like he hadn't washed it in weeks, and I felt good about myself. But like even this, like I'm drenched in sweat right now. I can't handle this long sleeve shirts here.
Are you nervous?
Next question.
Okay.
Hi, yeah, this one is for Jerax. I was curious about which hobbies did you pick up during your break after OG?
What? Can you please
sorry, about which hobbies did you pick up after during your break from Dota?
I play paddle. Swedish people know paddle. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Reading books. I started doing that quite a bit. I mean, 2 years. It's like when you have nothing to do, you're gonna come up with all this.
Talk to them about your, the writing thing, the pen, playing Counter-Strike with that.
Oh yeah, that was a hobby. So basically, I played Valorant. It's a FPS game. I played that on it's like a tablet, and you have a pen. I was doing that for way too long. It's probably 2 to 3 months. I did that very serious, by the way. I committed like 6 hours a day to that. It's just.
It's quite degenerate, but I think you fit perfectly on this panel now.
I can tell you why. I mean, I got the question. I'm very curious if like we're stuck to this like mouse and keyboard, and I'm the kind of guy that's just like, what if it's something else, you know? What if you're just like born like this and somebody just put a mouse in our hand? But like, what if you actually think about it, and then what's the most accurate way to like aim in a game or whatever? Then it's like a challenge, you know?
Have you tried the pen in Dota?
Yeah, I have. You don't have to be accurate in the Dota. Dota is just like you do nothing compared to FPS games. Sorry. The problem with that was, in the end of the day, I quit that hobby very, very quickly when I realized that I need to all kind of hotkeys on the keyboard to, like, when you press fire, you can't use it on the pen. It kind of distracts you from using the pen as accurately. So you have to all kinds of these weird hotkeys coming from your keyboard that you have to play at the same time. And you like when you play 15, 20 years on PC, like using the same hotkeys, like you don't just change it. Like it takes a lot of time to adapt. So actually, the easiest way for me was to adapt to the pen compared to the mouse, versus the keyboard hotkeys just like screwed me over. And I feel like that when I realized that, then it became very difficult because then I just like gave up. Aside from that, like started just, I mean, I guess you can call it a hobby, just going through podcasts, listening to people.
Hours?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Once a year, yeah.
To sing the jingle to prove it.
Yeah, sing the jingle, bro.
I can't.
All right.
Oh, what is that?
Don't worry about it. You can watch it post-edit here.
Yeah, and I started meditating, and I mean, it's not really a hobby, just healthy stuff. I'm not gonna bore you with that, but yeah, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Next.
So this is a question mostly for Jerax, I guess, who's active.
Unlucky, bro.
How do you feel about the stability performance on all the teams comparing to like when you were active in TI8? Like, do you feel like every team is better now? Like there aren't that team in the major that's exceptionally more worse than the others? And also, Gorgc, how do you feel about your TI11 chances?
My chances, yeah. Let's look at that a little later. Not yet. Stability. Teams have I feel like the tier 1 teams seem to be on a narrower scale, I guess is the way to put it. So I feel like there's not a lot of distance from the biggest, like the hottest T1 teams versus the tier 1 team, sorry, compared to the lowest, I guess. And I feel like it's kind of the development of the game over years. People kind of agree on stuff that's supposed to happen in the games. Like teams are agreeing. Like there's not so much anymore that, yeah, we play this play style, we think this is correct, and then the other guys are like, no, that's stupid. We're gonna do it this way. Like there's not so much this anymore. Nowadays, like if pro player from tier 1 team talks to another pro player in another team, like they actually see the game very similar, and it might be related to the patch a little bit as well. Like a lot of the meta picks seem to be very, everybody seems to be capable of playing them almost. And then I feel like there's just a lot of agreement how to approach the game, and that usually like tightens the gap of like between the teams. That's my understanding of it. And overall, I think people got very much better at the game. Like, I'm behind for sure. Like, coming from like TI8, I felt like I was terrible. TI9 I was a lot better. And now 2 years passed, and I think I would back then Jerax doesn't do very hot these days, I think. And I had a lot of catching up to do. I still have, and yeah, I don't know about the chances in TI11. That's a little.
That was for me, yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay, thank God, not me.
Well, I mean, our team, we're in Division 2. We kind of have a motto to never practice, never scrim. And you know, I see that as a benefit in a way, because people underestimate us. I mean, last season we had Alliance on the ropes, and that felt really good for a while until we've lost all of our rest of our games. But I would say if we make it close, I think, you know, if we make it to TI, imagine how scary it is. Wow, they don't even practice? And like, they'll be so scared we'll make it all the way, I'm sure.
Is there any threshold that you would cross where you would be like, okay, now we're actually going to try to take it seriously? Like, have you ever talked about that? Like, what if you made the major? Would you still not have practiced at all? Or
maybe if I get banned on Twitch, we'll talk.
We'll make it happen.
Okay.
You have a chance right now. Just say the wrong thing.
I think he would get me banned, actually.
So I have a question for Gorgc. So now you've been on the panel and you've done some casting on your own broadcast. Is this something you'd like to pursue in the future, or are you just continuing with the playing?
Well, I mean, I think streaming is kind of my thing. I noticed that. I mean, the people that are working these events, like Sunsfan and Syndrome, they're actually super talented, and I feel like I'm totally out of place. But I think it's fun. And as a hobby, I would definitely want to do it more, whatever opportunity comes. But yeah, I'm basically like a little mascot up there, I feel like, really.
We will do about 10 more minutes, by the way.
Okay.
You still got your question ready for me, don't you? You're just waiting. Oh, he's holding it. All right, it's going to be the last question.
So this tournament, I feel especially you can see that there has been sort of a generational change in players. A lot of older players are coaches now. And a lot of people like Secret are not here and Enigma Galaxy are not here. Like from your perspective, how do you see it? Is this just a natural development? Is it? Did you expect this? Did you think it's very different from before? What is your opinion on this?
That is a good question. Does anybody think that Seb is going to stay retired first? I want to ask all of you that.
That was not the question.
Well, I'm answering. I don't think so. I'm actually curious to what's going to happen now. Is he able to join a different team, or what's going to happen to Misha? We'll see.
Yeah, I think it would be bad press if they get rid of Misha at this point. I would expect. I thought they were just going to do a second OG, but post TI, because Thompson said he was going to come back, right? But yeah, that's a good question because I can't remember. Yeah, that's true. Jerax is available maybe after TI. We'll see. No, but the generational gap, I feel like this is almost, there was like the Sumail era where a bunch of people are trying to get like these youngsters in the mid lane. Now, after Spirit, I think it's like everything's just hardcore. Like all the old guys are, I don't know if they're struggling, but there's more opportunities maybe for these newer players to start getting on teams. Maybe the DPC has helped more than we actually realized.
Maybe the older guys started playing on a tablet.
Yeah.
Because they got bored. It was too easy.
That's probably a good point there.
I haven't seen it on the camera shots, but Seb is actually still rocking the tablet out there. He's pretty good. He's playing Wind Ranger and Monkey King because he can like draw the stuns. They're in a line, you know. All of his spells. That's all he can do. Yeah, you go ahead, Gorg, first.
I don't know what I'm supposed. Was it your question I'm answering or his? What did he ask?
The youngster thing. Like
the youngster. Yeah, no, I think it kind of became a little bit more of a big deal when you notice these young people winning a lot of events and them kind of like outperforming. I don't think when you get older, I'm saying this as I'm getting older, I think it's more about how much hours you are willing to put to practice. It's not so much the age gap.
For you,
matters.
That's 0.
Yes.
Is what you've told.
0, yeah. I'm willing to put none. But yeah, I think the older you get more responsibilities. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with being old. And my personal philosophy, I think every team needs an old guy or two to guide the youngsters along the way. So I think there's still a place for the old horses in this race.
For me, it's something I've thought about a bit as well, because I think part of it is perhaps, first of all, it's the amount, like Gorg's saying, I think the overall effort that players are putting in has gone up. I think if you go back 5, 6, 7 years, I think pro players were probably, first of all, they might have been playing the same amount, but they probably weren't using their time as effectively. Like having a right balance between playing the game, analyzing, watching replays, this kind of stuff. I think the approach has become more serious over time, and the young players have the motivation to do it more so, to an extent at least, than older players. I also think Dota in general, for me, has become less about like the old knowledge of counter matchups. I think it's kind of in line with what Jerax is saying, that the teams, it's more like defined how you play. So I don't think like that edge of having a super experienced drafter that has played since Dota 1, that advantage in draft feels less and less impactful for me over the years as a viewer, compared to even just a few years ago, where you would see like these amazing outdrafts that were based on history, right? Like someone just remembered, oh, back in 2013, this is how we used to counter this hero when it became a problem. Nowadays, it's more defined. So the young players, you know, they're very quick on their buttons. They know exactly, they play the matchup so much every day in their core roles that a lot of it is just, you know, familiar to them. I guess also the gap between pubs and pro level play has maybe narrowed down a little bit as well, so that the experience you get when you play on a day-to-day basis in pub games, the transition is less difficult. So if you're just highly individually skilled, a lot of the knowledge and experience you get from pubs can actually translate now. That's how it feels to me. I don't know if you would agree.
I agree. Sorry. This is usually what I do. Think. What comes to my mind about this topic is a lot of the older people have the knowledge. The thing is, the old people, I would say they have put a lot of emphasis on like really understanding the game, and I think the gameplay part starts to have less of an like they put less of their time into the actual gameplay, and then they put more focus on the knowledge. So I think the natural direction they usually do is like they pick on 5s because it's a position where you can actually apply the knowledge better, and you can get the people to do what you think is the correct thing to do. But you're really just trying to unite the people. Or you become a coach where you basically just share your knowledge and try to get everybody to do the same thing. Very similar to the post 5. The thing with the younger people is their emphasis and their time is always put on the gameplay. And the only real thing is they just hope that somebody really brings them all together, and they like find the correct people for them to work with. Like I feel like we had this in OG, for example, where I feel like Topias and Anna had something like unexplainable synergy in the way that they never really had to talk about the game, but they just like seemed to have synergy naturally in the game, and it just like clicks. And there's no need to talk, you know. There's no need for older guy other than to choose them in the same team, and it just naturally works. And I feel like younger people really just need to find the correct people they want to work with, and one old boomer that's like trying to draft and trying to focus, put their time there. And I think that seems to be what's happening right now. That seems to be the key to like succeeding. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's my take on it.
My personal take on this is, well, as far as I see, this is also why I rate Seb as the most valuable player right now. It's not so much about the knowledge you gain with the years of drafting. It's also the mental game you can bring to a players and share. Like if you have a 17-year-old like BZM or Amar feeling down in a mid-level tournament, then you got Seb there to lift them up. You know, a little Seb speech backstage is gonna bring anyone's spirits up. So I think that aspect is probably, for me at least, I think is very important also to have in a team, more than just the Dota knowledge.
Okay,
one more?
I think, yeah, we have the final one over there, right?
Yep, final one.
This better be good. You had a lot of time to think.
Unless it's really long. That's
2 more then? Okay.
Hey, big fan of the podcast. I think you, Cinder, and Sunsfan are probably the two funniest people I've never met.
Oh, you need to go out more.
I'm also a big fan of your stream, and come back to OG Jerax. Anyway, my question is to each of you, all 4, who is your favorite pro player of all time? And it cannot be yourself.
I was going to pick myself for Counter-Strike, so that's a good thing you said that. Best favorite pro player of all time? Dota. In Dota, yes. Do you guys have quick answers? I have to think.
I have to think as well. That's kind of a
I answered it before. I think Seb, just simply he opened my eyes what more there is to Dota than just playing the game. I think there's so much more to it mentally and stuff, so yeah.
Come on, Shannon. Buy us some time here.
My old answer, which I don't know if it's changed, is No-Tail, actually. But even though you said just Dota, it's because of Han, actually. Just witnessing like his dominance on multiple positions in multiple games now is just incredible. Like, he's now a coach, obviously, but like the old Polywog Priest mid, which is Rasta mid, he used to play position 1 in both Dota and Han. I think I talked to him. He was on the podcast. I think offlane is maybe the only position he never played. And like the other 4, he's played at tier 1, like S tier level, which I don't know if you can find somebody like that in Dota. It's just an incredible career overall.
It's hard for me not to be biased because it depends what the perspective is. Is it based on their accomplishments or is it based on their personality? I guess the microphone is gone now, but you can maybe yell it. A mix of both. Oh, perfect. That's the exact one I didn't want. I'm gonna have to go with Jerax.
Wait, you chose me. Please explain. Should I just say Synderen? For that. I mean, I maybe I'm biased for sure. Like, no doubt about it. Not that biased. I mean, personally, for my career, actually, like ever launching, I think Kuro was definitely the person that I would say at the time when I was teaming with him, I maybe didn't understand how impactful he was for my career, but I felt that he was like a father figure for most of us in the team, in Team Liquid, talking about 2015 to 16. And I feel like he taught a lot about like not just the game, but like human interaction and how a person should look at life. And I feel like it's really hard to share what he taught me exactly, but I was very focused on the game, and I think he like raised the bar of like it's not just the game, but it's really how you feel and like what do you believe in. And then I feel like he learned he taught me a lot of lessons about life, and I was just an ignorant player resisting all the feedback and never felt like being criticized and all that, and I was probably very toxic, but he carried on, and I think years after that I've been like looking back to those moments, and he taught me a lot, yeah. And well, he has had an incredible career as a player, and played all positions, I think. Probably not mid, but at least
he played mid, Doom, Dota 1.
God damn. Doom mid, what?
Yeah, I don't remember off lane, Kuro.
I think he has stood in for someone.
Okay, if that's true, then No Tails played all positions as well. But yeah, that competition. Yeah, yes. Mine is better than yours.
Yeah, and I think he's like Arthur. I talked to Arthur recently, and who was it? I can't remember. I'm not gonna quote on him. Somebody told me recently that he's like secretively the most competitive person. People don't realize it. It's like he doesn't necessarily show it, like the passion, but he truly holds like he still is very hungry for behind after all these years, and he's very committed to this game with his life. So I appreciate that very much about him.
Okay, final question that Synderen has forced upon you.
Not that huge. This is for anybody who wants to answer. But typically after a tournament, is it on? Sorry. Typically after a tournament, a lot of the more used heroes will get nerfed. Do you have any predictions on what will happen based on what you've seen so far?
I think whoever wins the tournament will be nerfed, as we discussed with Fly on our podcast.
Yeah.
Teams that win the major don't win TI, right?
That's why we did so badly this tournament.
Yes. The long game.
Made sure to get enough DPC points, and then...
Oh, shit.
Do you guys have specific predictions?
Well, let me think. So what are the major outliers here? Actually, let's let you go first. I think you have more of a finger on this.
I mean, Chaos Knight seems to be one of the ultra broken. You can just first pick it. I feel like teams are now starting to counter it, but I don't think there's really a counter. That's for sure taking a hit. And what else comes to my mind? I think it's mostly these first pick is heroes that just enable all the rest of it, and they just seem to like you just do it. Do you have anything coming to your mind right now?
I think there's a Wraith Pact hero. Seems like the strongest.
Oh yeah, I forgot the hero. Yeah, that's a good hero.
I guess maybe Pugna is one of the ones that would be up pretty high. Not necessarily because it's an auto Like it's not. I don't know how good its win rate is here, but it's definitely in the right games done a lot. I think Underlord has an insanely high win rate. He's probably getting nerfed, but again, Underlord's win rate might be tied with running strategies with Wraith Pact. So if Wraith Pact gets nerfed, maybe Underlord doesn't really need it as much. It's
Real
just
quick,
like
do you
the
guys like
storm.
the concept of Wraith Pact? 'Cause
No.
it feels like you can't tell, like as a spectator, you can't tell how good it is, but obviously it is good because every team's building it.
From position 5 perspective, it's like, oh, I have money. I'm thinking of all these Glimmers and 4-steps, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. There's just no option. You just buy Wraith Pact, and there's like no other option. So it's very bad. Sorry.
No, I agree.
What do you think if... Okay, this is a little bit of a sidetrack. Great question.
As
Look how we're just going on with those. What do you think if Wraith Pact, instead of being a totem on the ground that is pulsing out this aura, what if it worked like Shiva's Guard? So you have to have it on a certain hero that can get killed, is at risk, and when you use it, it sends out a wave like the Shiva, which is damage reduction. Do you think that's a better design, or is that boring or uninteresting?
Yeah, sounds better.
It's my suggestion, so it's really funny, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
I have no idea.
All right, that's a perfect
Great.
way to end the podcast. Cinderin trying to be funny and falls flat on his face.
Not trying to be funny. It was a good suggestion. Say it was good.
Very good.
He
I
loves
mean,
it.
anything's better than the current Wraith Pact.
All right, so I guess just in general, I don't know. If you think about it, it's probably a kind of unrewarding mechanic to have damage mitigation as an item like that, right?
that's
Like,
true.
it's as close as you can get probably to unfun for a lot of players. Because like, I want to play my hero and deal my damage, and you just feel like you're getting gimped. Same with the Pugna ward with damage reduction rate. It's kind of countering heroes from enjoying themselves. So probably might see those damage reduction things changed quite a bit.
Okay, I heard a beeping in the background. That means the podcast is over. First, I want to thank Gorgc and Jerax for coming on. We appreciate it. Also want to thank ESL for allowing us to do this, and obviously the fans in attendance. This is fucking really cool. I mean, we started this podcast a couple years ago. I was not in a great place, and I just did it for fun, and it's obviously been fun. People have obviously appreciated it on some level, and it's helped my career come out of the dumpster. So we really appreciate it. That's true. And we're not ready to announce specifics on this. I haven't even brought this up with Cinderin yet, but he's going to do it. I think we're probably going to do like some crowdfunded thing at some point, but episode 200, let's do it in Bruges.
We have actually talked about this.
Oh,
That sounds
we
good.
have. Okay, so
Wow, that's a crazy new idea. I've never heard of this.
That's
Okay,
right.
That's amazing.
So at some point we'll come out with details of that. That's not for another year though. So got another 50 episodes. Hopefully we're still alive by then. Okay. So
Yeah,
on that
hopefully.
very dark note, thank you everybody for watching and listening. We appreciate you. Until next time, Suns fan Cinderin, Gorgc, and Jerax signing out.
Subscribe.
There it is.